I'm about to run a vacuum, so
Well, hello everybody,
I'm
and hopefully we'll get a couple more people. Hey, Art, hello, come on over. Welcome to our January 2023 Klamath Film meeting. We have some new people, and thank you so much for joining us, and some familiar faces. Great to see you, as well as some folks on Zoom. Um, if you don't know already, if this is your first time, Klamath Film is a nonprofit 501c3 organization based here in Klamath Falls that helps promote and support filmmaking in our region, as well as supporting Oregon film. We put on an annual film festival. We do a free youth film camp every summer. We do special screenings throughout the year. We have equipment that you can rent. We do a wide variety of things to support the arts in the region. So these meetings are a chance to kind of get together, talk about things we're working on, mention any sort of opportunities of things that are happening. The upcoming events, as well as every month almost every month we always try to have a guest from the industry join us and just have a very casual conversation with them about what they do in the industry, offer advice, share some funny behind the scenes stories, stuff like that. So our guest tonight is going to be Rollyn Stafford, who is a Portland based film director, screenwriter, actor, kind of jack of all trades in the film industry, and familiar to us because he's been a part of our film festival for the last, I want to say 4, maybe 5 years. So yeah, he even won an award at our 2021 film festival for best northern short for his film Zombie Walk. This year he had a film that was one of our runners up, and it actually included the Klamath Independent Film Festival poster in his film. So that was a fun little Easter egg that he thrown in. To my knowledge, he's the only one who's done that.
We're at a film that was one of our Easter. Check it out.
Okay, Siri has now joined us apparently.
Nice to have a celebrity. Yeah.
Go away, Siri. Never happened before with everything done. Never had Siri chime in before. Okay, great. So we normally start off these meetings with just introductions of everybody, though I expect we'll probably have a few more people popping in a little bit late, and that's fine. This is our first time doing this at this venue, but thank you to Growler Guys for doing it. And thank you to everyone who's joined us online. So I'm the one who hasn't shut up yet. My name's Kurt Lidke. I'm the board chair of Klamath Film. I am the videographer and photographer for Klamath Community College is my day job, but I'm also a filmmaker. I worked in Hollywood for about 12 years before I moved to Southern Oregon. Worked on music videos, films. I was a music supervisor. I'm also a commercial drone pilot for both aerial and underwater. Do a wide variety of things related to film. So thank you everyone for joining us. We'll just kind of go around the table so everyone can introduce ourselves.
Good time. Hi. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. My name is Cassidy. I am the director of Klamath Film. I started July of 2022. Was that last year? Yeah, 2022. And so I'm really happy to have you all here. I'm really interested in kind of more nature documentaries and nature photography and things like that. So that's a little bit more of my background, science-wise and things. And so really excited to have you all here today for our first meeting of 2023. So thanks so much for being here, everybody. Tommy.
Hey everybody, my name is Tommy. Cassidy is my better half, and I'm the #1 volunteer. Actually, Nina, you might top me actually, but
I don't think so. I think you got it.
Yeah, volunteer, and I just enjoy watching film. I have no experience working in the film industry, but enjoy watching movies and all sorts of things.
That's okay. Sorry, I got you hooked on that.
I'm Lillian, and I'm Art's wife. He's not here right now. He went to get something to drink. And Art have been part of the group for quite some time. So I just, whenever I have the chance, come to the meetings with him, and I enjoy watching movies, especially the foreign ones.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. This is my first foray. I've done a little bit of videography. I went to school for photography, so those two things kind of parallel a little bit. And I just really like film, so That's why I'm here.
Wow. Um, Hi, I'm Jen, and I'm really interested in the short films that you guys mentioned that will be in March. I would really like to attend that, and I haven't attended any of the film festivals yet, but I really want to. So this is the year 2023. Awesome. Thanks, Jen. Oh yeah, Art's here.
Oh.
No pressure.
Hi, I'm Art. I was the first grant writer for the group. On the board previously. What else you want to know? Right. Property manager here in town. Big dreams that haven't gone anywhere for. So here I am.
Well, Art, I have shown images of your property to several filmmakers who are interested in coming here, and they are very intrigued for this year. Possibly we might get a production there. So in the works, there's a feature film that wants to come that thought that your school is perfect. So I've been meaning to talk to you about that anyway. So thank you for being here. And when I stepped away, did Nina and AJ get a chance? So Nina. Hi, Nina.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nina Oberlin. I'm a production designer, animator, filmmaker, set designer, do a little bit of all kinds of stuff. I joined up with Klamath Film, I think it was August of last year, and just been kind of getting to know everybody and stuff, and it's been a lot of fun so far. Looking forward to the new events and hoping to be able to join you guys for the Oscar shorts this year. Hoping.
And Nina's on the board. She got elected as the board for a 1-year term. So good job, Nina.
Thanks. I'm excited. And I also have a coming up working on a music video. So that's a project that's kind of in the works for me, doing an animated music video starting next month. So it'll be fun.
I've also been tracking your progress with your puppet making skills too online. It looks like it's coming along.
Yeah, slowly but surely. There's a lot of the tedious work, but it's been a lot of fun. I'm hoping to eventually, with all my little monsters that I'm making, at some point work on putting a TV show together for kids. So that's kind of like in the future, but I got to get all the puppets made first in order to do that.
Oh, so cool, Nina. That's so unique. Awesome. And AJ, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, AJ. I have just recently found out about Klamath or filming Klamath. I have a lot of interest in just the mostly in behind the scenes in the crew. Sound production is a big interest of mine, and I wanted to get an idea of what this is all, or what the group is all about, and become a member here pretty soon, I think.
Awesome. Thanks, AJ.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Thank you. But I'm actually at work, so I'm just gonna be muting and listening most of the time. So
That's totally fine. We appreciate the dedication.
thank you.
I also just got a text from Andrew saying he's on his way. So he'll be here and maybe some other people will join us too.
Neat. Well, so I think most people heard about our announcements, but we have a few screenings coming up. So the Oscar shorts will be the Saturday before the regular Oscars. And then we also, one opportunity for a videographer or photographer over President's Day weekend is the Winter Wings Festival is looking for someone to volunteer to just take photos for them or take videos, just so that they kind of have something to use for next year for promotional work. So you definitely don't have to be like experienced in any way. They're just looking for someone to go around and shoot, and you get free admission into the Winter Wings Festival by doing it. And so it's a really awesome kind of group here. It's run through the Klamath Basin Audubon Society, and it used to be called the Bald Eagle Festival. And so it kind of evolved into what it is today. And it's a 4-day event. You wouldn't have to volunteer for the whole time. Just whatever would work for you guys. They're just kind of looking for someone to do that. So that's coming up President's Day weekend in February. Other than that, Nick Alexander is doing a casting call right now for a vaping awareness campaign with Healthy Klamath. So if anyone is interested in acting in that, they're looking for, I think, one lead role and a few kids as well, high school age. So if anyone knows of anyone interested, so that'll happen. And then also be on the lookout. Klamath Film will be posting our kind of schedule of the events for the year. Coming up here shortly, we have our big board retreat this weekend. And then after that, we'll get some more things finalized. So we're looking forward to a great year with you, everybody, and bringing some events to the community.
Yeah. So for our next event, which is going to be the March Oscar shorts, they have not yet announced the nominated films yet, but as soon as they do, we will get an advanced screening version so we can check out the films, which is always a really interesting combo. Short films, what's great is it's usually about a 3 to 4 hour long presentation of films. So if you don't like one, there's going to be another like 10 films after that you will probably like. We usually try to do a little bit of Oscars trivia as well, give out a couple prizes for that evening. We do make sure to throw in an intermission because it is a long program. And there's always some very fun films that no one had any idea about. Usually a couple of them get picked up by the streaming services. So after the fact, you can see them on Netflix or something like that. There's Andrew calling in just a second. You want to take it over for just a moment?
Yeah. So the Oscar shorts will be at the Pelican Cinemas in town. And it'll be really fun. Tommy, what was your favorite Oscar short film last year? Why don't you just share?
I love the one with the animated Robin who thinks that she's a mouse.
Oh,
She's raised by
wow.
mice.
Tell us more about that.
It was just a very wholesome film, which I appreciate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you were more of the wholesome end of things is what you're interested in.
Definitely.
So how did that animated Robin find her way in the world while she thought she was a mouse? Oh, this is testing your knowledge.
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember.
Well, it turns out that the Robin also had skills that she could dedicate.
It's a great film.
It is a great film.
It is a great film. It is a very good one.
Beautiful. And did the rest of the Oscar shorts traumatize me? Maybe just slightly after seeing a beautiful, wholesome film about an animated Robin with her mouse family. But it turns out that the Robin had talents that she could give to her mouse family while they stole Christmas food from humans, which, you know what? Do it. Steal our food. We have too many anyway. So I loved that film as well, Tommy. That was a great animated film. So yeah, does anyone have anything that they're working on or have watched anything recently that they really enjoyed? Ooh,
Andrew went to retro.
I watched Wendell and Wild.
Yes. The stop motion film. Yeah.
I don't remember who the director is. He's the famous. He did Coraline and The Nightmare Before Christmas. And he did this film with Jordan
Henry Selick.
Yes, thank you, Henry Selick.
nice.
He did this one with Jordan Peele as a producer, I believe.
Mhm.
And then anyway, so it was interesting, had a very convoluted plot line, I guess, but they were saying some stuff and they wanted to say it all, so they had to.
I loved it. I thought it was a great film. It was super entertaining. The timing of it was great. That's another made in Oregon film. It was shot up around Portland. A lot of the Leica animation crew worked on that film. So yeah, I thought it turned out great. And it was great to see Key and Peele working together on another project after their shows ended. And their careers have gone in very different directions. You know, Key's doing all the is it Jordan Peele that's doing all the horror films, and then Key's been acting in everything. So yeah. No, you're thinking of Keenan and Kel. This is Key and Peele from Comedy Central.
Oh, exactly. Okay, that's awesome. Was that on Netflix, Jared? Or
It is.
okay, exclusively on
They've done a
Netflix.
horrible job moving it.
Oh.
Why?
And it's like about the prison industrial complex.
Yeah, private. It's about private. It's basically
Whoa.
packaged in a.
Kids.
Yeah.
Not really kid, like.
PG.
It's quasi horror, but like buddy comedy horror, and yeah, I thought it was super fun. So I enjoyed it. Great film for Halloween.
Okay.
It was just released this year, and yes, it would be eligible for the film festival potentially. I think it was Leica Studios, or if not, it was done by people from Leica Studios.
Okay, cool. Awesome. It looks like Joyce Dickens joined us. Joyce, hey, so good to have you in the meeting with us. How are you doing?
I can't say just running.
Okay, it's a little hard to hear you, Joyce. But thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, I'll turn my audio up. Just give me a couple minutes.
Take your time, hun. Don't even worry about it.
And did the gentleman at the end get a chance to introduce himself?
Oh, yes, the gentleman at the end. What?
My name is Luke Mounts. I am friends with Cassidy, among others, at this table. So just figured I'd come by and see what this was all about.
Welcome, Luke Mounts.
Thank you.
Luke Mounts is a photographer. He doesn't know it yet, but he takes wonderful images. So he's also made a bike film about Spence Mountain of him riding down it with his dogs. I've seen it. So yeah, maybe. Exactly. And we have a GoPro added to our library too, if you ever wanted to borrow more equipment for us to film with. I know. Very exciting things. Awesome. Well, yeah, we recently watched Andor, which I loved on Disney Plus. And okay, first of all, before marrying Tommy, I was not a nerd. I did not watch Star Wars or Star Trek or Lord of the Rings. And now what do I spend my nights doing? watching Andor and falling in love with the rebellion. So anyway, I would totally recommend that. I really enjoyed that. That was probably the best series I've watched in a long time. Andor on Disney Plus. If you've seen Rogue One or other Star Wars films, it's kind of like a origin story of that film. So it's very good.
Second that.
Okay.
I'm not a Star Wars fan at all. I was watching and I like kind of rolled my eyes like not another Star Wars thing. I was sort of like watching it from across the room and like sat on the edge of the couch, then sat on the couch and was like, okay, the next. Yeah. Gotta watch the next episode. Yeah.
So good. Yeah. Garrett, have you seen anything recently?
Well, I recently got my hands on a working VCR that will still play EP tapes. So that is kind of a rarity these days because usually the heads have all worn out after 20, 30 years. And I am a collector of old VHS as well as old laser discs. I have quite a collection of both. You know, growing up, anytime there was like an HBO free preview weekend, I was sitting next to the VCR just swapping out tapes to record everything. And these tapes have been sitting in my attic for a decade plus, unable to be watched on anything. So I've been digging through the attic, pulling out movies from the 80s and early 90s and revisiting those a little bit now that I have functional equipment that allows me to do so. So let's see here. Last night I watched True Lies for the first time in probably about 15 years. Pulled out some very cheesy films that have not aged well over the past week or so that I remembered a lot more fondly and looked back on like, this is not good. This is I would, if you're a fan of skateboarding movies, I would say avoid Gleaming the Cube. It has not aged well. But no, I am always watching a film, even if I'm doing something. I usually have something on in the background. So there's always things that I'm checking out. So I would say if you need recommendations, I am a wealth of recommended films, or in this case, what not to watch also for really bad 80s skateboarding movies.
How many VCRs do you have now?
VCRs, let's see here. In the house, there are 4 VCRs. 3 of them will only play store-bought, but now one of them will play recorded tapes. So yeah. So now there's a wealth of several thousand films that I get to go revisit from all the things I recorded when I was a kid. Several thousand, yes. The attic is full of old VHS tapes that I was preparing to possibly throw out until I came across this Goodwill VCR that has kind of brought them all back to life.
Awesome. Nina, what about you? Have you been watching anything? Any good puppet stuff I should know about?
Well, not really puppet stuff. I've been on a horror kick lately, doing research for another film I'm working on. But I've been watching a show. It's called The Brand New Cherry Flavor. It's kind of an obscure show on Netflix. It's really weird. I haven't quite got an opinion of it yet. So I'm halfway through it, but it's about a filmmaker trying to become famous and get her film on, sold in LA, and how it turns out bad. She meets the wrong director and then she decides to put a curse on him, and it just goes downhill from there. So it's kind of an interesting show, but it's fun.
Sure. Well, my big movie milestone was this week is I finally found out how the ring gets into Mordor. So that was a really big moment for me. And I don't really like Frodo, but I will probably apparently have to read the books, and apparently he's better in the books. So
No, you'll be fine if you just watch the special extended edition versions with
the extended versions.
With like the 30 hours worth of behind the scenes content on the special extended edition DVDs. I've watched all the way through at least twice on those, but
Our was pretty.
Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit, Nina. Could you repeat that?
The Rings of Power, that was a really good series for Lord of the Rings, kind of like an introduction.
yes, we're still working on the Rings of Power, but I've heard great things, and I do like it.
It's good.
I think it's good. It's good. Awesome.
Has anyone and I'm sorry if you're talking about this one step away. I know you mentioned Nick Alexander, but there's also other productions or other opportunities coming up in the near future for things. So did you have a chance to go over those? Okay. So one of our past winners at our film festival has completed a feature film script that is going to be shot here in Klamath Falls sometime in 2023. Currently in pre-production phase. It's with a budget of $8 to $10 million, which means that most of that money gets spent here in Klamath County. So that I anticipate is going to be either a spring or summer production, but it is coming together, and we've been in communication with the filmmaker on that. That's about as much as I can say about it publicly at this point, but so that's very exciting. That it'll be our first feature length film shot here since 2018. But our goal as an organization is to get to a point where maybe we have 2 to 3 feature films being shot here every single month. So, or sorry, every single year. Every single month would be pretty impressive, but every single year would be the goal. So we will have things throughout the course of the year. Last year, I believe we had 9 films shot in the Klamath Basin. There were also several TV commercials productions that were shot. There was a feature-length documentary that was shot that I don't know, maybe we'll get to premiere at our film festival this year. I don't know. That's all coming together. That was done by a BBC film crew internationally that came here. So there's always something potentially in the works going on. So if you're interested in acting or you're interested in being behind the scenes in some capacity, there may be opportunities. As we hear about them, we will share them with our membership. So even if you've never acted before, sometimes people just through happenstance ended up in films. I can tell you every film that I appeared in when I was in Hollywood was by walking by the set to go grab lunch, and someone stopped me and said, "Do you want to be an extra? Here's $50. Do you want to stand in the background for an hour or two?" I was like, sure, okay. That's how I ended up in Charlie's Angels Full Throttle and John Tucker Must Die and a handful of other really terrible films that I don't recommend watching. And we have another one of our guests. John, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Now, I've just been here about a year, just still learning the ropes and kind of interested in more of a cyberpunk movie, still figuring out my music and everything. All the Christmas sales. And if I don't got enough stuff to do it now, I don't know what I will, or at least music wise. Still working on it, yeah.
Wonderful. Before we get to our guest who has joined us, hello, Rollyn. Thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it. Anyone have any sort of announcements or projects or just anything in general that they want to mention? No? Okay. Not a problem. Well, Rollyn Stafford here is joined us. Hey, Rollyn, thank you so much. We've had Rollyn, we've suckered him into helping us out on many things in the past, but we've never had him as our official featured guest before. But he's no stranger to us. He's been at our film festival every year for what, 4 years, 5 years ish.
3 years. 3 years.
3 years. Well, let's see. We had Road to Bob one year. Then we had One Dead Dog the next year. Then there was Zombie Walk. Then there was
Excuse me, 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 years. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. I don't count the first year because I was unable to go to the first one because I was shooting One Dead Dog while your festival was going on. So,
and Rollyn is also Rollyn has also helped us out with our annual summer film camp that we do for middle and high school kids in the Klamath Basin, coming on to share some advice with the kids, which has been very helpful. Thank you for your help with that, Rollyn. So this is our crew. We get together once a month to just talk about upcoming productions and things we've seen and things we may be working on. And we always have one guest come in and just talk about what they've done in the industry and funny behind the scenes stories or any sort of advice or whatever. We keep it very informal, very casual, just kind of a fun conversation about things that our guests have done. And since you are kind of a jack of all trades in film industry, being an actor, a writer, a director, producer, someone who has had enough success to actually get a film on streaming services. Congrats on that, by the way, with your film One Dead Dog, which actually that's one that I should recommend if you're a fan of comedy and horror blended together. I love One Dead Dog, and I am not just sucking up to our guest here. I genuinely love that film. So you want to kind of start off, Rollyn, with just kind of giving us a little bit of your background, how you got into film and some of the things that you've worked on.
Sure. Actually started as a stand-in on the television show The Librarians, which was on 4 seasons. Was Christian Kane's stand for 2 full summers, and I thoroughly enjoyed. And it gave me the crew and learn that's all about, and I thoroughly loved it. And after that, I been making my own short films. And I just sort of continued doing that, and eventually got the courage to make a feature film. Which I think actually premiered originally at the Klamath Independent Film Festival. And
I think our
just been
the
continuing
Wi-Fi
to do
here is a little unstable. I'm going to try to stream on my mobile hotspot instead. Yeah, hang on just a second, Rollyn. I think the Wi-Fi here is a little unstable, so I'm going to try to instead switch over to our mobile hotspot. So everyone might be momentarily disconnected. Just advance warning. Bear with us just momentarily,
Okay.
and we'll see if we can stabilize the connection on this.
Sounds good.
Come on.
Oh. That's skip on the camera service.
Hey, Andrew, sorry for the confusion on things, but glad you were able to make it.
This one's open right here.
And okay, check. Is that any better? Or worse, it looks like all of our online guests are frozen.
Tea, perhaps. Something a bit stronger.
Give it a second to see if that improves at all. Oh, okay. Starting to see movement again. Rollyn, do we still have you?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. How about Nina, Joyce, and AJ? Can the 3 of you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Here.
So sorry about the connectivity issues. This is our first time at this location, and it's always an experiment anytime that we change spots. But thank you everyone for being here. So anyway, Rollyn, we heard that you had started as a stand-in, and then you started working on short films.
Yeah, and I've made about, I'd say, 11 short films in my so-called career so far, and 3 feature films, and hoping to continue doing that down the road. And also in my spare time, I'm talking to people and hoping to teach people about cinema history, because especially I love a subject I love to talk about, and especially a place like Portland, there's a lot of film buffs around here. You just got to know where to look. But there's a lot of really cool students I've noticed who really want to learn about movies that came out before they were born, which is always happy to hear about. I'm always excited to hear when a student wants to, hear about a movie that came out in like 1946 or something, because a lot of them don't, and don't have the attention span to, to learn that stuff. So it's cool. Yeah.
I am curious, because I don't think we've ever talked about this, how exactly you found out about us on the other side of the state, and why you keep coming back year after year to our film festival.
I'm a fan of tradition. I like coming back to that festival. You're very friendly, and I like that. And it's also not too far from me. I live in Portland, so it's about a 5-hour drive. You're also very near Ashland, which is a place very near to my heart, so it's an excuse to go there as well. But you guys have always been very supportive of my movies, which I really appreciate. And I've always liked the people and the staff who work there, especially at your theater. So I've always enjoyed it there. But I first found out about you, I think, while doing research on Oregon film festivals through Film Freeway. I think that's originally how I discovered you guys, when I was submitting Road to Bob to film festivals. But yeah, every year I look forward to coming, even if I don't have a film there, I like to come down there and see the film, see what other Oregon filmmakers are working on. And I always make it a point to take a break from your festival and go to your local theater. Can't remember what it's called.
The Pelican?
Pelican. And every time I've been there, I've seen every time I go to your festival, I see one movie there. And it's great. And the first year I went, I saw Tenet, back when COVID was at the height, and like I was the only person in the theater. The second year I went there, I saw Cry Macho, Clint Eastwood's latest movie, and this year I saw The Woman King. So it's definitely a tradition of mine to watch one movie there every year, and I love it. It's really cool.
It also helps, one, that you've won an award from us for best film, and 2, to my knowledge, you are the only film maker that has ever acknowledged our film festival as an Easter egg within one of your films.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love the One Dead Dog movie poster so much, and it was done by a wonderful Irish artistic director, and he's very talented. But you slapped your logo on it, and that's the one copy I think I have of my printed out poster. So when I hung it up and Zombies Like to Watch, it had to be there. And I thought that was sort of a hint to you guys too. I was hoping you'd catch it. It was just sort of a nod to you guys, and I'm glad people picked it up. I really am.
All of our judges immediately questioned whether it should be disqualified for brown nosing a little bit.
No, you can do what you like. I stand by it. I think it's great, and I'm always happy when people notice it. Honestly, I think that's really cool.
Well, we appreciate you coming back year after year to be a part of our festival. I think for the last 2 years too, you've been the very first person to submit a film. So if nothing else, you are punctual. As soon as our deadline opens on February 1st, there's a film from Rollyn right there coming in.
Yeah, we'll expect the same this year.
Yeah,
know it. I'll pay that entry fee.
Well, I'm excited to hear about the film you have ready to go and things, and just kind of the process with so I just love your films because I feel like they're so unique, and it's like, oh, that's a Rollyn film for sure. It's like, it just has like such a, I don't know, what would you call it? A je ne sais quoi about it. And I just love when filmmakers kind of make their own niche and they make their own way through that. And so it's just fascinating to see your work and how it evolves over the years and things like that. So I'm really excited to hear about your recent project and what we can expect at KIF this year.
Well, thank you very much. It's very, very nice. I discovered very early on while making movies that I do like to leave people leaving the theater with some feeling good for the most part, not feeling depressed or sad. I mean, those movies that do that are really, really good. But I discovered I don't usually like to make audiences feel that way. Even if I'm making a horror film or something, I like them to feel happy when they leave. So thank you. It means a lot to me. I'm glad you like them. And I think in that case, you'll definitely like my next feature that I am submitting to you guys.
It's called The Kinsperson, right?
Kinsperson, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. It's very different from anything I've done before, but it has still my sense of humor in it. And it's the first time I collaborated with a writer on it. And it's like all my movies, I always say my movies are 85% autobiographical in some way. And I think that's very true with Kinsperson. And yeah, I hope you like it, because I would love to screen it at your festival next year if there's room. I don't think I give you guys there's no poster in the background on this one. So I don't give you guys sorry.
You set a precedent last time that might disqualify you for not having a KIF poster in your films going forward.
Well, I remember actually talking to you about this last year, about all the films that won had something to do with fishing.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was kind of biased. And I remember joking with you about it. My next film should be like Zombies Like to Fish. And then that would be like an instant guarantee in, because all your judges, apparently that's what we Oregonians do. We just go out and
the funny thing about that is all of our judges this past year were based in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These California judges have a very strong opinion about what Oregonians do. Apparently we all go out in the river and catch salmon.
So are you making a Zombies Like to Fish movie? I mean, is that going to be submitted as well?
Not I thought about it. I honestly did, just to see your reaction, just for fun. But I've actually I'll be shooting another short film at the end of February, which is something very different I've done before. I can't say what it's about, but it's definitely comedy, and no zombies in that one. So expect a little change. But Kinsperson does have a few zombies here and there. I couldn't help myself.
I'm so curious what a zombie cameo is like, because I think most zombie movies are more zombie focused. So we'll see about zombies here and there. That sounds very exciting.
Oh yeah, you'll like this. Makeup artist Zachary Smith, who was my makeup artist for Zombies Like to Watch and Zombie Walk, and who played my zombie also in both of.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, very talented man.
And your friend that you brought down that was in your short film that was in last year, was it Evelyn? Her name?
Gale.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do remember, on what you mentioned just a minute ago about how 85% of your films are autobiographical. I loved how much Evelyn and I made you squirm on stage and while detailing Zombies Like to Watch and how exactly that was autobiographical.
Yeah, well, Evelyn is definitely the sister I never had. I always joke with her about that, but she really is. But yeah, Evelyn is probably my closest buddy. So she knows all the good details about my sordid life. And whatever rumors she happens to tell you, there's a good chance they could be true. She's a very honest person at heart. So. And she helped me write Kinsperson too, and she has a big part in it. So you'll be seeing a lot more of her, hopefully. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Sounds great. So Rollyn, can you just kind of maybe describe? Maybe I missed it too while I was grabbing a beer. But maybe like your journey as a filmmaker. Like, let's say you have this idea for a zombie movie. Like, where do you start from getting that spark of inspiration?
Well, I never start writing a zombie movie or thinking of writing a zombie movie. I always think of stories without zombies first, stories that might have happened to me or stories that I like that I've read about. And then I write that story and then I sort of add the zombies in as a substitute because my opinion, zombies always make stories more interesting. Even if people don't like zombies, I think they're fascinating creatures. And I just do. And I think a lot of people who don't like horror movies don't mind zombies. And I have friends who aren't scared of them. And I ask them why, and they say, well, it's just impossible. Like it would never happen. That's their reasoning. So I never start with writing a zombie movie. I always start writing personal stories. And that usually entails me going on long walks and talking to myself, and bringing my phone with me and recording my thoughts or pieces of dialogue that pop in my head. And I bring all that garbage. I come back to my laptop and type away and see if anything comes out of it. That's usually how I begin.
The original hot girl walk, Rollyn Stafford talking to himself on a long walk.
I don't know. I think some people write differently. My best brainstorming comes from walking around town. It honestly does. I like, take an hour, and I think it's amazing how many we like to doubt it, but we talk to ourselves a lot when no one else is around. We just do. And I think it's amazing what comes out of our mouths when we actually record it. You never know. Sometimes it could be genius,
See, I figured that you always try to throw in zombies because I'm friends with a few people who are Hollywood makeup artists, and they always say that working on horror films is the most fun. It's one thing to do costume and makeup of different time periods or whatnot, but when you're getting to do blood and guts and gore and all that, it's supposed to be. Especially, I love watching really bad B-movie horror films from like the 70s and 80s slasher films because oftentimes, like the victims, you can see they've got giant smiles on their face. Because like they may be being chased by some slasher killer, but they're like, this is there's like blood and guts coming out of me. It's cool.
Well, yeah, it's absolutely fun, but it's also messy and time consuming, and it's like we don't have like access to CGI. I don't. So it's all practical for us. But yeah, it's a blast to do that stuff. And besides, the crew loves it. The actors love it when they see how much work is being done on that, all those makeup effects. And they think, oh, we're going to be doing something that someone's put a lot of work into, So that always makes people happy. And people are always happy to take photos with zombies, That's great for their personality, I guess. Yeah.
Any questions for Rollyn? The conversation shouldn't be dominated by Cassidy and myself. So if anyone has
I've got one.
I don't mind you talking.
Yeah. You mentioned that the film you're going to be submitting, you worked with a writer, maybe not for the first time, but predominantly for the first time. How is that different than your previous films where maybe you were doing most of the writing?
Well, I was the only writer in all my previous films. No one helped me on those. Well, first off, the writer is Evelyn. So that's a whole different subject matter. So how I wrote Kin's Person was I wrote the first draft, which was about 35 pages. It was sort of a brief outline, really. And then she came in and she added stuff to her character, which she thought would be appropriate. And we sort of went back and forth. But it was definitely a new process. I mean, almost all the dialogue from her character, she has these long monologues that she gives about filmmaking and zombies and Portland. And all that mostly came from her. And I love it. I thought it was a great way for her to develop her character, and it really spoke how she was feeling as a person. And I thought it was great. My dialogue, well, what I enjoy writing is a lot of snappy back and forth stuff. I love that sort of screwball comedy you see from 1940s comedies like His Girl Friday or Bringing Up Baby, Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant going at it real quickly. I love all that kind of stuff. That's more my take on life. Would be much more interesting if people chatted that way, but it was an interesting process working with a writer for the first time. I'm trying to do it again with someone else, and we'll see if it goes anywhere, but who knows? Yeah.
So Oh,
Andrew,
Andrew, go
had a
for
question.
it. Andrew, yeah.
Well, I was just going to ask, what are your thoughts on the potential of the Klamath Basin area being a great place to film a horror movie or zombie movie?
Oh,
Now-
I would.
Now, Rollyn, Daniel, and Brian.
This has been a group question.
Right. So, when Rollyn screened One Dead Dog, and I believe that was your first time coming down to our festival, we had a gathering at Klamath Basin Brewery, RIP, and
Filming in the bar.
right. And Rollyn, Daniel, Timothy Tracy, and Brian Sutherland, two of the actors that were in the film, specifically, I remember we're talking about, man, we should come down here and make a movie. So, Rollyn, why the hell haven't you come down to Klamath and made that movie that you three were talking about?
Buddy, I would
This is a loaded
love,
question.
I would love to do that. Don't get me wrong. I would love, but sadly, it all comes down to money. Listen, on my sets, which are mostly non-union, I always like to pay my people something. Everyone should get paid something for their work, even if we're non-union and doing it for fun. I truly believe in that. It all comes down to getting the money. Honestly, that's what it is. If we had a good budget, hell, we'd be down there right now making a movie.
Well, let's say if money was no object, what would you think about filming in this area?
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. No question. It was a beautiful location. Last year when I was down there, I remember I was watching some of the short films playing at your festival, and Evelyn needed a break, and she went off to try to find the Klamath Falls, and all she
Mysterious, elusive.
Yeah, serious inquiry, and she she found what they were really, and but she on that journey she encountered all these beautiful locations and everything, and I mean I also just love the town that you guys are in. It's I could totally see us making something there, even if not horror. I mean it would be so much fun to film in. So if money were no object, yeah, we'd be down there in a heartbeat.
To be fair, when Brian, Daniel, and Rollyn were having that conversation in 2020, Portland did have the worst air quality of any city in the entire planet at the time. So, although you did, that is how Zombie Walk it came about. But I remember Daniel and Brian were talking about, hey, we can actually breathe here. This is different.
Oh, it was so nice. It was amazing. We had been stuck in that crap for weeks, and suddenly this little bubble that you guys live in, where the sun was able to come through. I remember. I drove down. You guys, I was driving through smoke fire so thick I was going 15 miles an hour. On the highway, I couldn't see in front of me, and I get to your place and like the clouds part and like the sun comes in. Oh, it was a really much needed relief. It really was.
That's what they call us, the Oasis of Oregon, Klamath Falls.
Oh,
I believe Art has a couple questions. Yeah.
Hidden oasis. So I have two questions for you. So you said you get a lot of your ideas walking around. Are you downtown? Not your exact address, but we'll be in Portland this weekend, but are you downtown, southwest, southeast?
Southwest area. I'm close enough to downtown.
Okay.
I do like walking downtown though, because the blocks are so small, you can literally walk anywhere. And I appreciate that. Plus my day job is down there as well. So that's why I like walking around.
Oh, great.
And you had a
So
follow-up?
the second question is funding. How do you fund your projects?
It's a combination of turning in a lot of favors. One Dead Dog, I actually remembered turning in my car, actually, briefly. I got $3,000 for turning in my car to fund it. And after One Dead Dog, I was able to get my car back, which was good. But favors on work, sometimes I worked on a lot of people's projects for free. I almost never get paid as an actor or camera person, because I use those favors later for my films. I've also used Kickstarter in the past. I try not to use it too much. GoFundMe certainly helps. And I use a lot of what I make from my day job as well, from the Portland Art Museum. Yeah. So it's a combination.
You're funding most of it?
Through, yes, I would say by organizing. I'm organizing the funding. Yeah. Yeah.
And it should be noted too, One Dead Dog is now on a streaming service. So how exactly did you manage to get a feature film onto, I think it's Amazon Prime, right? Where it's located?
Yes, and you can rent it for $2.99. So please do so, because I make a couple pennies every time you do.
Wait, a couple pennies, Rollyn. No.
A couple pennies. Listen.
Can I send you $3 and you send me one?
Bezos needs another spaceship, so he's got to pull in that One Dead Dog cash.
I'll send you guys my Venmo. So anytime you guys want to do that, you're totally welcome to.
Okay.
Sorry, what was the question? I'm so sorry.
Well, no, how did you did they approach you or did you approach them? What is the process of getting a film onto a streaming service?
That actually took a lot of research on my part and my producers. We researched a lot of producers or films that had gotten on streaming services before. Small production companies who were able to take your film and put it, either on Netflix or Hulu or Prime or Amazon or Tubi. It took a lot of research and finding producers. And after that, it was a lot of paperwork. Back and forth with our lawyer, negotiating with these people, what they needed, what they could provide for us. It took a lot of work. It really did. I'm glad we did. I'm really happy One Dead Dog is out there for people to see on Amazon Prime. But it was a lot of work. And it was important to research because there were a lot of scams out there of people who will, take your film and not do anything with it, And that's why I do say it is important when distributing. You need to have some kind of entertainment lawyer. It really is important, I know everyone's like, I don't want to do that, but it is important when it comes to distribution. It really is.
We haven't had a chance. Oh, I'm sorry. Art, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah. So is filmmaking a passion of a hobby? Is it financially rewarding or yeah, he's smiling. Yeah,
he's already laughing before you finish your question.
I could show you how much money I've made off of One Dead Dog so far. It's not a lot. I think I could buy groceries for maybe 3 weeks. It's not financially rewarding. I would love for it to be someday. I would love to work. I would love to work as a filmmaker full time, but it's important to have a day job. It really is, to pay the bills, which is what I do. But it is a passion and it's what I love to do. There's nothing that makes me happier than being on set. And that counts as a director or an actor or a camera person. It's the environment where I thrive. And that's what's fun the most for me. And that's what I look forward to mostly. Every day I wake up and try to think, how could I get on a film set if possible?
We haven't had
passion of love then.
Oh,
yes.
We haven't had a chance for our Zoom guests to be able to chime in yet. Lori did ask a question in the chat. Lori asked, is there a chance that you may do a prequel of One Dead Dog? Lori, I believe that Lori, weren't you one of our screeners when we had One Dead Dog? So you got to see it a couple times.
Yeah, I did. And definitely when Rollyn showed up, I peppered him with questions right off the bat because I was the volunteer taking in and or signing people up when they first arrived at the festival.
Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a prequel to One Dead Dog? I thought about it. I thought about what I could do with the characters Tracy and Brian certainly created. Although the most fascinating character to me was the one that Megan played, the Emily character. She was the most interesting part to me. Emily lives up in Seattle though now and has like 5 children. She was also pregnant when we were filming One Dead Dog, but she didn't tell me that. She was worried I wouldn't let her do certain things, but if I found out she was pregnant, and she's probably right, I'd have probably been more careful. But it's always possible. I mean, I love working with those 3 actors. They were great. We'd have to film somewhere else, not Black Butte anymore. But hell, and maybe if we get the money, we could have the prequel in Klamath Falls. That'd be cool. Yeah,
Wow,
there you
it's
go.
all
Possible.
coming together.
There, it's all coming together. So I can start writing a feature right now. How these kids, you guys grew up together.
Rollyn, I'm dying to know, and I'm sorry, it was before my time that One Dead Dog aired, but is there a dead dog in One Dead Dog?
No, and you're not the first person to ask.
Okay, I just wanted to ease
It's
mind.
There are no animals in One Dead Dog. It's all about their pet dog who has long since died.
Yeah, no animals were harmed in the making of this picture, but the humans got the crap kicked out of them. So
yes, you know why I came up with that title. We were thinking, actually, we were driving up to Black Butte, me, Brian, Tracy, trying to think of a good title, and we started thinking of marketing ideas, and we thought, listen, when people start streaming or start looking for films, they see like alphabetically, right? So we thought, let's start with numbers. So that's where the 1 came from. We want something they could see first. And then I'm not sure how One Dead Dog came back. It was called a whole bunch of different stuff before. I was calling it a whole bunch of different things. It's funny how titles definitely evolve as you write. Definitely. But no dead dogs. No dead dogs were in the movie.
Anyone else from our Zoom guests that haven't had a chance to chime in yet? Joyce or Nina or AJ? Looks like Nina, you have a question. Thank you for being patient.
Oh, no worries. I just had a question because you love doing zombie movies and they're great. I got to see at the last film festival, Zombies Like to Watch, and that was great. It was hilarious. I'm just curious, what is your favorite zombie movie and kind of how has it influenced your aesthetic in your movies?
Well, I'm going to get some heat from this, but I say my favorite zombie movie is 28 Days Later. And I know the purists out there, don't think of 28 Days Later as a zombie movie, but to me, it is. To me, it is, and it's one of my favorite films because not only because it was about zombies, but it was about people and the way it was shot. I think Danny Boyle is one of the most creative filmmakers doing with something so little. That was the thing. It looked like it was done so cheaply, and yet it looked so good. And I respect that so much when filmmakers can create so much from so little, and I strive to do that the best I can. And I especially love when like successful filmmakers have done that, like say Oscar nominated filmmakers will take a step back from Hollywood and create something so small, not so small, but something not their usual size and put it out in the world at that. So Danny Boyle doing that, fantastic. Another good example would be Gus Van Sant, certainly, who went from making something like Good Will Hunting to Elephant, which was filmed here, which I auditioned for actually when I was like 16.
It's a brutal movie.
It's basically a remake of like the Columbine shootings in a film form. Yeah. Elephant sounds nice and happy, unless you want to see like a high school shooting, a bunch of people get shot. Don't watch it.
Good river.
But Nina, to answer your question more thoroughly about zombie films, I thoroughly enjoy. I can't go wrong with Romero's Dawn of the Dead, 1978. Yeah. That's pretty. You don't get much better than that. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, Rollyn, you throw a lot of comedy into your zombie stuff too. So I was thinking more along the lines of Shaun of the Dead or Warm Bodies or something like that. That is very much so a comedy film that happens to have zombies.
kind of reminded me of Fido. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
I
Thank you.
love that movie because it's so funny. That's kind of like zombies like to watch. That's the first movie that I thought of was Fido. Because it's such a great, it's so funny and
Thank
silly.
you. I never thought of it that way. But certainly Shaun of the Dead, definitely my top 5 zombie movies. It's so good and scary at times too. It really is a scary movie. Yeah, all those zombie movies are wonderful. And actually, there's this little small zombie movie almost no one has seen, which I really like too. It was called Maggie. I don't know if any of you have seen that one. 2014, I kid you not, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yes, yeah.
It's not a big movie. It's very small. Abigail Breslin.
Yeah.
Whole new take on the zombie genre, and I really liked it. It was something really different. It's such an interesting subgenre of its own, you know. And I'm always anxious to see how people are going to take it and do something completely different with it, you know.
Well, moving into zombie fetish with zombies like to watch is definitely a direction that a lot of people have done. So
again, zombies. Again, that's a great example of me taking just a very personal story and substitute zombie.
Autobiographical, right?
That's right.
A zombie in their closet.
Who's got made in 2010, and there's some others that are borderline. Rollyn, if there isn't anybody else in the Zoom that wanted to put out a question, I don't want to
jump on in. Yeah.
But Rollyn, you had mentioned the importance of the business side of getting your films released and distributed. I wanted to ask you because I took a look and saw that you had your film available on Freevee through Prime, where if you have a Prime membership, you can watch it free with ads. How are you, and you don't have to answer this unless you want to, because it's kind of, if you have an NDA with your agreement with your distributor to not talk about this, that can be a part of what your contract is. Are you happy with AVOD as compared to SVOD or the other options for distribution? What do you feel with how your film has been put out there?
You know, I'll be honest with you. It was such a struggle to get it out there. It took a lot of work, and I was very happy that it just got out there, that it was available for people all over to see. That's what I'm most proud of. I think it probably could do better, you know. We pitched it to other people. We pitched it to the big wigs, Netflix and Hulu and those guys. But you know, there's always an option to do better, I think. But I was very tired, and I had been, working on we were also coming off COVID too, and we were all very exhausted. The whole project, and I was very happy just to release out there and start making a little bit on it. But mostly, I was happy that I could watch it, and then I had a local connection at the KGW down here who did a short story on us for the news, and that made me so happy.
You guys had a good publicity run and got some word out. And
yeah, we did. But
on like Fangoria.com or Blade Disgusting or any of
we had a few
publications.
We actually had one. I always like it though when people write scandalous reviews of my movies. I always like that.
Flaming 1 out of 5.
Yeah, I always love
film ever.
I prefer that. I like seeing that
no
crap.
such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah, any publicity is pretty good, but
that's great.
You gotta wonder why this person hate this movie so much. It makes you wonder a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, but distribution is essential. It's key to get. I mean, you could spend so much money and get your film released on YouTube or whatever. That certainly is an option. Nothing wrong with that. But let's face it, we live in a culture now where almost everything is streamed for the most part. I don't do that. I just rented The Exorcist 3 from Movie Madness. I'm going to watch that after this Zoom call. I'm not going to stream that. But yeah, I mean, no one asks, where can I get the DVD anymore? Most people don't.
That's true.
It's always asked, where can I see it? Where online can I see it?
Yep.
So that is important. That really is.
It's almost like today, if a film is not on a streaming service, it no longer exists. You know, there's this whole era of lost films simply from decay. 90% of all silent films ever made there's no longer an existing copy.
Only lasts so many years, and then it's
right.
dissolved.
So before there was an issue of preserving films in terms of physical copies. Now there's the matter of, if a film is not on a streaming service, is it even relevant anymore? Does it even matter? I know that's very philosophical, Rollyn, but we are in an era where most people absorb their media, especially the younger generation. And I work at a college, and most kids don't watch cable. They're watching YouTube and TikTok. And so if something is not on a streaming service, it's almost like it doesn't exist.
I think that's very true. I honestly do. I think that's why I think it's important that we have places like Movie Madness, which is here in Portland. If those of you have not been to it, it is probably the greatest movie rental store in the country, in my opinion.
It's amazing.
80,000 titles, DVDs, Blu-rays, VHS. And it's also a part-time museum where they have props and costumes from films dating back to the 20s, the 1920s. And it's, in case there was any confusion. But Kurt, man, I completely agree with you, man. I really do. I mean, I stream stuff like any person does, but I probably go to Movie Madness at least twice a week. Yeah. Sometimes I rent stuff, which I don't watch, but I still go there.
But before you jumped on the call, Rollyn, I talked about my big adventure this past week was I actually managed to find in Goodwill a VCR that does not have the heads worn out. So it can still play 6-hour EP tapes from all of the HBO free preview weekends when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s. So I've been pulling out tapes from the attic like crazy and re-experiencing films from the 80s and 90s I haven't watched in 20, 30 years. Because you can't find a VCR anymore that'll play they'll still play, like the commercial films. But if you've recorded something on SLP or EP, normally the heads are too worn down at this point.
Very true. No, I still have a VHS, by the way. You can come use mine. Okay.
Yeah, I have a working Laserdisc too, and a pretty impressive Laserdisc collection as well. So
you should compare like notes. I mean, my vinyl setup. We got all this good stuff.
So, go ahead, Rollyn. Did you have something else?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I just had a couple of thoughts. First of all, you said your friends aren't scared of zombies because they thought that it could never happen. And I too was the same way. And I hate horror, and I'm just scared very easily. I'm a major scaredy cat. And then after playing the game Pandemic, and then after the actual pandemic, now I'm like, it's actually, yeah. It just makes me a bit scared. So anyway, I can relate with your friends on that note, but I also do enjoy your films quite a lot. And in addition, also, I am just very impressed by your tenacity as a filmmaker, because it's one thing to make it, a fiscally reasonable thing. And when you did come to the film festival and I was so new to this position and this organization, I just, I was very intimidated because I was like, here's this big filmmaker. He has made so many amazing films. And I was just it's really impressive. And I just wanted to give you a shout out on that, because it does take a lot to make a film on your own time and, just do it as a passion. So it's really awesome to hear you talk and stuff. So very cool.
Better find out. I don't think they will.
Joyce, did you have a question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm just enjoying the conversation.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't imagine me intimidating.
I know. It's just I've seen your movies and I'm like, man, they're so professionally done and wonderful.
I really gotta spread the word up here with my friends. You guys Like they've, I'm just rolling up here, but when I go on the Klamath Films, I'm a big deal.
Oh yeah,
Down there.
absolutely. And I'm sure in the Portland community too, and the Oregon filmmakers. Don't be so modest. But so let's say you're like looking at your friends and you're like, wow, friends, I really want to make a film with you guys. How do you even like broach that subject, like with Evelyn or something like that? And you're just like, wow, look at all these talented people around me. And man, we should make a film together and submit it to a film festival and stuff like that. So how does that go with like friends like Evelyn? Did you meet her with filmmaking, or how did that kind of pan out?
I actually met Evelyn at the start of my career. She was a stand-in as well on the set of Librarians. I was Christian Kane stand-in, and she was Rebecca Romaine stand-in. And yeah, I know. And we all of us, honestly, all 6 of us who were stand-ins in the show, we hit it off immediately, and we're still all good friends to this day. Evelyn's probably closer than the others, just because I said she was the sister I never got. But I also am part of a weekly acting class. I go every Monday night, and it amazes me how much talent, undiscovered talent, is in these classes. And I'm just thinking, as a director, I'm thinking, oh my God, look at my future cast, or people I can use, not non-union actors I can use, for probably on the cheap side of working for, like $100 a day tops, which is wonderful. But I've gotten to a point where I do have a bit of a reputation in Portland, so people are always approaching me about filmmaking ideas, because I know I work hard and I put in the effort to get them done. That's the other thing about, I've sort of gotten a reputation of making films, at least getting them finished. People will spend all this time and money and effort to get their films made, and then they drag their feet in post-production. And that's not to say post-production isn't costly and time-consuming. It really is. I stick on it. I stick on my people and sort of give them like deadlines to me, because we all have other stuff to do in our lives, and we all have to pay our bills, and we all have other things we need to do. But I keep on it, because I know if I don't, think films often just die. Indie films die and get lost, and it's sad but true. Lori, you had a question for me here. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that transitions really well into Lori's question in the chat. So Lori asks that you had mentioned about making sure to pay the people who help you in your films, but you also said that you yourself work for other people in their films in terms of taking favors versus being paid. For help me out down the road and I'll help you out now. Is there a reason that you yourself establish a different standard for yourself than you do for the people that you hire for films? And do you feel that's equal? Really putting them on the spot here, Lori. Wow. Rollyn's never going to do something for us again after that question.
Oh, that's a good question. Listen, in a perfect world, we'd all get paid equally, right? But like the talent I get, especially with the crew, are people who have worked on professional movie sets and who are willing to work for me for, say, $100 a day. And that's I'm not only bringing them on board, that includes like their equipment, everything they bring with them, and I appreciate that. So if that means me taking a pay cut where I can gain favor with them later on the road, I would gladly do it to make my films happen. Absolutely. In a weird sense, especially when it comes to fundraising, all the money, honestly, in Portland filmmaking kind of gets recycled. We all help each other raising money for their films and vice versa. It kind of goes back and forth, unless you've got some huge investor, you hidden away somewhere, which I have a few somewhere, which I sometimes I've made connections, which is helpful. Dave Dahl being one of them, Dave's Killer Bread, who I think you saw last year. A Little High Up was shot in his penthouse.
What's
I can't-
Duke's phone number and would you like to visit Klamath?
Yeah, right. He got, listen, this guy, I couldn't believe he let us do that also. I'm really hoping to shoot something in his warehouse full of African statues someday. I don't know what he does with all that money, but wow, is like this
Sounds
place
very Blade Runner Decker's apartment kind of. Cool.
Quick, such a good movie. Quick side note, I just want to pick on Evelyn for just a second here because you mentioned Blade Runner. She had never seen the movie before. I took her to a screening at the Hollywood Theater, and she's watching the scene where Deckard is like looking at that photograph with that machine, and getting closer and finding that. And Evelyn looks at me and says, "So they've got flying cars in the future, but no digital photographs."
That's arguable.
That's Evelyn in a nutshell. And please pick on her whenever you see.
Oh yeah. Well, we have to, because we put in all this effort at our film festival this past year to do a huge special event for National Lampoon's Animal House. We actually brought Otis Day to Klamath Falls to perform on stage. And afterwards, Evelyn had the gall to say she didn't like the film.
Well, yeah.
It's considered the greatest comedy ever made. I realize, parts of it haven't aged particularly well, but it's supposed to be set in the 60s.
We talked about this. We talked about this at length. And to her credit, I can totally see Evelyn's point of view. As a woman, very, very different viewing this movie. She almost walked out of the theater. But I like the movie. I'm sorry. I think it's a funny movie. But hey, have you guys, I want to ask you guys a question actually right now. Have you guys thought of a movie yet for this year? An Oregon-made movie yet for this year?
We've tossed around a couple ideas, but we have nothing finalized yet.
All right. I'm going to cast my vote for 5 Easy Pieces. Just saying.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm going with, but you do you.
The single most famous, it's a Jack Nicholson film from the 70s. The single most famous scene in that film is Jack Nicholson having a freak out at a Denny's restaurant, which is located in Glenwood, just off I-5, right next to Eugene. So
I've been there. I've been to that booth. Yeah. I asked the waitress to sit me in that booth. Typically.
Yeah. I grew up about 5 minutes away from that Denny's, so that's home to me.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Go, Rollyn. We'll have extra points since you suggested it for
Thank you.
Year's festival.
Since I'm such a big deal down there.
Anyone who hasn't had a chance to talk yet, do you three have a question, or some of our other guests on Zoom that haven't had a chance to chime in yet?
What would you say was what made you fall in love with film and filmmaking? Like, was there a particular movie or moment in time where you knew, like, I want to do this?
It's a good question. There were a couple movies. I think when I was 15, I really I was aware of what movies could do, especially the camera. And I think the movie that really showed me that was The Shining. Honestly, it had seemed to have every kind of trick in the book. And I was like, oh, wow. So this is what filmmaking is.
Also made in Oregon, also with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, well, at least the outside, at least the Timberline Lodge.
Yeah.
Was shot in London. But yeah, The Shining. And also I was a bit obsessed with American Beauty. I thought American Beauty was the greatest movie ever made when I was 15. I just thought it just blew my mind. And for a while, I kind of identified with the creepy kid with the camcorder. And I kind of walked around with my non-digital camcorder at the time, like filming stuff. So I guess those two movies, but the movie that at least inspired me to at least start to get off my ass and start making my own movies was a little film in 2005 called The Puffy Chair. It was by the Duplass brothers.
Yeah.
And I watched it in college because I didn't know anything about it, but I think it had gone to Sundance, and I was like, okay. And I watched it, and the first 10 minutes, I was like, what the hell is this crap? There's out of focus stuff. The camera's all over the place, but I loved the characters and the story and what they did with it. And it was the movie that inspired me just to get out and make my own movies. That was definitely a big inspiration to me. Yeah.
So Rollyn, if you did come down here and like Andrew was saying, if money wasn't an object, I mean, what kind of movie do you see yourself making here in Klamath if you did a movie here in Klamath?
I've been working on a script about a guy who discovers he has a half sister living in somewhere in Southern Oregon, and his sister and him both have imaginary friends they talk to, and when they meet, the imaginary friends can see each other, but no one else. So that's a comedy I've been playing with. I've written a script. It's about 85 pages long, but that sounds like a fun thing I would like to shoot in Klamath. It would definitely lead more towards the comedy side, I think. Though you guys have such beautiful remote areas, it would be easy to do some sort of horror there as well, you know.
Rollyn, I promise when we invited you in, it wasn't under the guise of trying to pitch you on shooting a film in Klamath.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You know, how somebody from the outside would view Klamath. Because I mean, sometimes I'm like, even for my movie, I'm like, how could I possibly use this town for a cyberpunk movie, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I thought you always think that you have to have like San Francisco or other things, but I also see how other people kind of think out of the box on some of these things and make what's around them work for them. So that's why I was just kind of curious. It's like, what would you envision doing down here? Because like we got a lot of scenery and stuff, but it's like, I don't know always how to take advantage of some of those things because they don't necessarily fit into my ideas of things. Not that they couldn't.
No.
It's just that it's not the first thing that comes to mind.
I think
so that's why I was kind of curious.
No, it's a really good point. I think it also important though, when, at least for me, when I write a script with locations, to think about what locations I do have access to, you know, and that helps me write, honestly. It's like, could I film this in this location? Would this be appropriate here? Could I get away with it? Could I shoot it guerrilla style? I've shot in cemeteries before, which I wasn't allowed to shoot in.
Well, you know, that would make, you know, you may want to explain how you went about making Zombie Walk, because that fits in perfectly, because you shot that when basically no one was allowed to go outside, and like downtown Portland was abandoned and covered in graffiti, and like the one like week or two when Portland looked like a post-apocalypse, right?
Oh, I couldn't ask for better free production. I really couldn't. That movie is beautiful just because of the production value. It just, you know, but yeah, I mean, I think I told you, we didn't expect the fire, the smoke, you know, and the day before we began shooting, I had a Zoom meeting with my crew saying, listen, obviously your health is what's important first. Health is safety is important first. But if you guys are willing to shoot outside in this crap, we're going to make, it's going to look fantastic. And they all did. And we were able to shoot outside, you know, for roughly 2 hours before we started getting headaches because we couldn't breathe because there was no oxygen in the air. But again, something I'm incredibly proud of is almost all the graffiti work, almost all the statues you see in that movie are now gone from Portland. I captured a moment in time there. And Portland has not looked the same since. It looks completely different now.
Yeah, right. Immediately after the riots and right when fires made Portland the worst air quality on the planet, you're like, this is perfect. I got to go out and film this somehow. Not like, okay, everyone else is hunkering down and just trying to survive. It's like, I need to capture this right now because like you couldn't recreate that setting on a soundstage. No. I also my favorite shot in Zombie Walk is the guy that you randomly shot outside who's smoking while you have the worst air quality in the world.
That guy was a houseless person. He was not part of the crew. He was just there on the street. And I approached him and said, do you mind if you were in the movie? And he said, sure, as long as I get a close up. I don't know if he's ever seen the movie. I know. I honestly don't. But I think it's a great shot. I think he was a great actor for that one shot. Great. Actually, while doing that, a lot of the houseless people saw Zach all in full makeup and acted differently toward him. And one guy who wasn't probably mentally healthy started walking up to Zach and said, like, I'm one of you, I'm one of you. And Zach just came at him and they gave him a big hug, and that was it. And sent him on his way. Just want to talk to him for a little bit. But I like you said, Chris, this was right after the riots that were happening. And we had to pass by the Justice Department, which was covered in graffiti. And I told the crew, listen, if the cops come out, don't just send them my way. Okay, I'll explain everything. Don't engage them in anything. I mean, I thought there was a good chance we'd be mistaken for, protesters because we had video cameras and there were so many of them down there at the time. So it was a little nerve-wracking at moments.
See, my thought of that would be, they've got fires everywhere. It looks like the apocalypse. There's been graffiti, everything thrown around. It looks like it's, post-apocalyptic filmmaking. And here's a guy walking a zombie around. The police are just like, sure, why not? After what we've already been through.
Well, there was no one out. I couldn't have. No one. First off, you got to, and you guys can relate to this because of COVID. We were all locked inside. We couldn't socialize with people, and the only thing we could do, a lot of us could do, would be go outside and do long walks in solitary places. And then the fire came and they took that away from us. And we couldn't do that. So we couldn't do that either. So we were like fed up with it. We just had to get out there and make something. I'm so proud of all the people who were making movies during COVID. Unfortunately, all the movies that were made were short 5-minute films about two people like in an apartment. That's what happened.
Wayne chimed in and just said that he got permission from City of Klamath Falls, Klamath Falls Police Department, and 911 to shoot a film in a city park with multiple people being shot with absolutely no resistance. So one more reason to come to Klamath.
Fantastic.
The police and fire will be. You want to make a movie? Cool. Can we be a part of it too?
That's fantastic. That's good to know you're so cooperative down there. Oh. I don't think they'd be as cooperative up here. I got in trouble once, and I was very upset at the director. I was playing like a villain on a rooftop with a very fake plastic gun, but no one told the police about it, and someone thought I was a sniper and called the cops on us. And the next thing I know, I had 4 cops pointing their guns at me and saying, "Drop the gun, put your hands in the air." I was so embarrassed, more than frightened. They handcuffed me and put me on the roof of the car. I didn't go to jail or anything, but they gave a stern talking to the director and myself. I was so upset. I was just like, oh my God, this is the worst.
Let's see who. AJ, Wayne, Joyce, Jeremy, and was it Luke? None of you have had a chance to chime in yet. Did any of you have questions for Rollyn, or just enjoying the conversation? How about Joyce, AJ, or Wayne? Do you 3 have a question?
I've just been thoroughly enjoying listening while working here still.
Well, we appreciate you being a part of this, AJ, even while you're at work. So thank you very much. John, did you have a question?
Yeah. Just first to comment. I mean, I noticed you got the Thing poster back there, and
it's a classic.
That was something that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. Crawled into bed with mom and all that crap,
Not only that, hang on.
But I was really impressed to find out that it was that Rob Bottin who really did those effects.
Oh, it's autographed.
Autographed by John Carpenter.
Nice.
Oh. Just had to share that. Sorry. Continue. I'm sorry.
I do have a question after this, but I just, sometimes, even though it's a John Carpenter film, the amount of work I read about that Rob Bottin who did all those effects, it's like after he was done, he was so exhausted. He checked into almost like a mental place for almost, I don't know, months or a year or something. It was a long time for him to recover after that thing. So sometimes you don't always know who the true heroes are. But besides that, I just wanted to ask you that, earlier you said how, you made a comment about, not having very much and making it work. And it kind of reminded me, it's like sometimes even on the music side, sometimes if you have too many things, you get lost. But sometimes if you narrow yourself and say, well, okay, you're going to make a song that only use this synthesizer or only this many keys, or, you narrow yourself, and then you find that you can actually do a lot more being narrow focused than wide focused. And I wondered if you ever noticed that during filmmaking, that it's kind of the same experience. Like sometimes if you just narrow the things you can work with, that maybe you could do more with it than you realize.
Well, I've always thought in those terms of working that way. Honestly, I've always realized that my budget was stretched very thin. And, the best thing you can do on a film set like this is just have solutions in your back pocket if things go wrong. What can we do? What can we do? I remember the first day of shooting Kinsperson, one of our actors slept through their alarm clock and we couldn't get a hold of them all day. So we shot everything around them the best we could. Last year on Kinsperson, we got the Friday the 13th curse. We started filming a scene in a park and they started power washing the tennis courts behind us. And if you're familiar with that sound, it's very intruding. And we had to do some very quick scouting, and we packed up our stuff, and about 30 minutes later we were set up at a different park about 10 minutes away to shoot the scene.
One of the most fun conversations that I've had with a filmmaker with local roots, Academy Award winner James Ivory, grew up here in Klamath Falls, and he was telling me about a film he made in the late 60s in India where their lead actor was arrested and thrown in prison on day one of film production. And so while they're trying to figure out, okay, what is all of the second crew shots that we can do and how many shots can we do without our lead actor in it, they're trying to negotiate his release from prison. Now it's something he can laugh about it, but at the time that stuff can happen on a film set where lots of times it's problem solving. You prepare as much as you can, and then day one comes around and you just kind of throw everything out the window and go, okay, let's roll with it. Let's just try to make it happen however we can.
Absolutely. I mean, the movie I always think of is Jaws with the shark never working.
The shark never worked.
Yeah. And then having to shoot around it. And look at all the great stuff that came out of that. Fantastic. All that suspense. Amazing.
Steven Spielberg had a nervous breakdown over the course of making the film. You were talking about being so exhausted. Before Rollyn mentioned that, my first thought was Spielberg on Jaws. He almost left the film industry because of Jaws.
Wouldn't blame him.
Yeah.
It's because things kept not working. And I feel like the whole shark thing, you can only imagine, like, after how many days of things not working, you're like, F this.
It went way over budget. The production schedule ran way too long because Bruce the shark Bruce was the name, would never work. And so Richard Dreyfuss does a great interview about this, about how he said his experience on set was every single day he'd hear over a megaphone, the shark is not working. The shark is not, until one single day they said, the shark is working. And that's the only scene that they got with, the attack on the boat itself was the only time that the shark actually worked in the water. Every other day in production, the shark was supposed to be throughout the entire film. He wanted to make it like a classic 50s monster movie. But since the shark never worked, he had to use all of this first person camera perspective stuff, which actually made it the mega blockbuster it was. If it had been shot with the shark, I think it would have been another monster film come and go. Yeah.
Yeah. Work with what you have. Yeah.
Another amazing example of trouble during production, if anybody wants to watch it, is the documentary Lost in La Mancha.
Oh, yes.
Terry Gilliam's struggles adapting, Don Quixote.
Yep.
That entire ordeal was just so troubled.
Yep.
And he had already had difficulty making things like Brazil and Baron Munchausen, and he was known for going over budget and making these grand epics. but when it came to chasing those windmills, it was something. So
The great,
watched that for sure.
The great irony of that is that Gilliam ended up having to cancel the film halfway through production. So the film was never made, but the making of documentary of the film was completed and released.
And so, then 40 years later, he was able to do it with Adam Driver. And
yeah.
So it finally turned out well. But I did have a question for Rollyn that I wanted to ask. And it was also a follow-up that we had talked about in regards to coming to Klamath Falls and making a zombie film. And it's kind of a brain game putting you on the spot. If you were to make a zombie film here, what would a quick plot be? Would it be 28 Days Later? Would it be an homage?
Let's just twist that arm some more.
Also, what is your favorite homage to a horror film or a zombie or a death that you've put into one of your own films? What's your favorite thing that you've paid tribute to in your career so far?
Other than Kiff.
Yeah.
The Easter.
other than Kiff. If I was going to make a zombie movie in Klamath, I am a big fan of the Romero slow moving zombies. So that's definitely the route I would go. I would definitely make, I don't know, my zombies aren't that dangerous, honestly.
my zombies just like a little bit,
just a little bit dangerous. Like, yeah, they'll eat your flesh and your brains, but I mean, they're a lot smarter than I feel others are.
The only one that's ever actually been eaten in any of your zombie films is a Karen who absolutely deserved it. So
that's right. Yeah. And so, but I feel my zombies would, like, you can negotiate with them somehow, like reach a compromise. I've always thought of the zombies as outcasts, but never that dangerous. Just avoid them, you'll be fine. So I thought it might be cool though to make a movie that's just starring zombies, like with no dialogue and just.
Well, on that note, Rollyn, Lori just put something in the chat that makes a lot of sense. That would be very meta, of zombies watching films at KIFF.
Oh my God!
Zombies like to watch films at KIFF. How about that as like a first person perspective, maybe like super meta film?
You could just like, zombies like getting popcorn. Right. Just like I like the idea of zombies like just trying to communicate, but like not talking to each other. Just maybe we could do the apocalypto style and just have like subtitles, whatever the zombies say. That'd be fun. But I like that. I don't know. I would make a zombie movie in Klamath Falls. I don't know. I don't have a story. I was trying to take a break, honestly, from zombies, just a little bit, just a tiny bit.
There's nothing wrong with being typecast because it means that you're getting work.
No, and by the way, when you advertise this little thing on your Instagram, I love the little zombie hand that pops up like at the top of the page. And so I've definitely been typecast there as a zombie filmmaker. I think Evelyn. No, I loved it. Evelyn actually pointed it out to me. She was like, "They put a zombie hand on you." I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome." In terms of your second question, an homage, I don't feel like I have really. Nothing comes to mind. I show my crew like certain films that have inspired sort of the theme, of the movie, like the sort of tone should be. But I haven't really done any homages I honestly can think of.
Well, then if not, I've got an alternate. What's your favorite zombie in any horror film, like Dr. Tongue and Day of the Dead, Hare Krishna and Dawn?
Bud the Chud?
Bud the Chud.
Yeah.
Who's, an incredible, it's Gary Grant.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the greatest character actors of all time, but who's
the dog from The Thing?
Or gal.
Yeah.
Favorite zombie?
Oh, that's so
the one dead dog that's in The Thing. Wait, which is really coming full circle with the poster behind him.
Yeah.
Or if we want to talk about the thing, who do you think was infected first? Because my guess is Palmer.
That's what actually I would say too, first, honestly. I mean, I've watched the thing like so many times. It's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
It's pretty perfect. And
10 out of 10.
I don't know. I love it. I mean, that and The Shining come pretty close to my favorite horror films, honestly. But the thing is so perfect, especially in its ending. So
I think Childs, McCready, or both.
if they were infected, you mean?
Yeah.
I think,
especially with the passing of the bottle.
yeah, I like to think
It's a great debate.
Oh, I like to think it's just the sentiment. I think they're both not infected. I think they were both just two guys who were screwed at the end, and it kind of makes me happy that they shared that moment.
So we've got about 15 minutes left, and we want to make sure people can head home after this and we don't run too late. And thank you, Rollyn, for your time here. And we always like to end these meetings giving everyone a final chance to chime in, either with a quick question or just they have a final comment, and then we'll give you the floor for any sort of advice or final thoughts afterwards. So let's just kind of go around for whoever wants, or maybe let's start with the Zoom people first. So Nina, do you have a final question or just quick final thought as we sort of wrap things up here with Rollyn?
I don't have the final question. I just want to say thanks for sharing your journey. I really enjoyed hearing about it, and I'm a huge zombie fan too. So anything with zombies, I'm all about it. And I'll have to share with you, I have some really cool zombie puppets, and I'm actually starting a YouTube channel where the zombie puppet actually critiques movies, but
I
on
love
subtitles.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So I'll have to share it with
please
you.
share that. Please
So,
share
yeah,
that.
so definitely think you'd appreciate that. So I just love it. It's nice seeing things that are funny, and putting zombies in there with a little bit of intelligence is always great, because I think they're a lot smarter than a lot of movies give them credit for. But
Thank you. I think
no,
so
I
too.
just appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your journey. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Joyce, I know you didn't get to ask a question, but is there one that you have now, or just any final thoughts?
No, not really. I'd just like to say thank you to Rollyn for being our guest tonight, and it was nice to see him again. Howard and I were the photographers for the 2021 Klamath Film Festival, so got to see him then and enjoy his movies, and I'm glad that he's continuing on with his passion.
Thanks, Joyce.
And Wayne, I'm not sure if you have a mic because you keep chiming in on the chat room, but do you have a question or any final thoughts? Or if you don't have a mic, just say, hey, thanks in the chat or something like that. It's all good. We'll move on. Lori, do you have a question or any final thoughts?
Sure. Yeah, no, I always appreciate picking your creative brain, Rollyn. It's always fun to hear, and I'm always appreciative that you're willing to listen or answer. I do want to make one comment, and I have a quick question. So the comment would be with One Dead Dog. I had originally watched it because I was a screener on my laptop, and then saw it actually on the big screen when it showed at KIF. And it was such a big difference. So I'm super excited that you have the opportunity that it's streaming somewhere, but it's such a different experience, in my opinion, for actually seeing it on a big screen. So I just wanted to throw that out. And I know that it was brought up in a Q&A, I think, at KIF, just the minute differences between the actresses, facial expressions, which really added so much more to a scene and just made it it was good before, great, but just over the top, even so much more. So that's my one comment. My question is, I'll make it easy because evidently my earlier question was hard. With your filmmaking experiences and stuff, you get asked a lot of questions. Do you actually have a favorite question that you've been asked, or a question that's really thrown you for a loop that even though it was really bad, it was a favorite?
Other than watching Klamath Falls.
Right.
I'm always happy to talk about. I think any filmmaker is really happy to talk about their filmmaking experience because we work so hard. We spend so much time and effort making these films. So any questions you throw our way about the production, I think we're very happy to talk about. We're excited that people like to ask us about our movies. Because we're like, yes, someone we can share this with. People we can talk to about this kind of stuff. I always like when people ask me about like some of my favorite films from like the silent movie era, because we don't talk enough about that. And I like discussing some of my favorites like Passion of Joan of Arc or Buster Keaton movies, or Sunrise. There's so many we don't talk about enough. And some of them are not that great also, but some of them are really, really special, and I think I always like when people or students want to talk about the beginning of cinema.
That was definitely something I asked you about with One Dead Dog at the festival. Was Megan's performance in particular comes across as the sane one of the three, but then there's one or two quick shots you have in the cabin where as she's getting comfortable with the brothers, she does just like a little flick of her tongue on her teeth or does just a very subtle thing with her eyes that come across very psychotic, which was great in their subtlety. Is that what you were talking about, Lori?
Yeah, definitely.
That's all Megan. I wish I could take credit for that, but she is a wonderful, wonderful actor. She brought so much to that character.
AJ, I know you may still be at work, so you may not be able to chime in, but did you have a final question or just a quick thought on our talk tonight?
Not really. I mean, I guess maybe I do have one question. How do you get past that or the brain blockage of nobody's really going to be interested in what I'm doing, but get past that and actually make something and put it
out? Try not to give a shit, honestly.
Right.
It's just like, I mean, to be granted, you're always going to be in the back of your mind, some voice is going to be saying, will certain people like this movie? Will certain film festivals like this movie? And yes, certain film festivals do go for certain types of films. If you make a comedy that's 10 minutes and under, those are pretty popular right now. But honestly, I know it's been said many times before, but make stories that that you're familiar with. And I think that shines through. It honestly does. The more truthful you are about a subject, I think audiences are gonna grasp that. Kinsperson is a very unusual movie. It's only 55 minutes long. And it's a very different movie I've ever made before. So I'm anxious to see what people think of it. But honestly, I'm just glad I made it because it was important to make.
Wayne did chime in the chat room, which he's just continuing to pitch you coming to film in Klamath about how great the cooperation is between local government and filmmakers, and he hasn't heard of it anywhere else. So be sure to spread the word amongst your Portland friends to come film down here, I guess.
While we're on that subject, anyone who's like willing to put a filmmaker's or a crew up for the couple of nights we're down there, that's also a big plus for us. Trying to organize hotels and stuff. Oh my goodness, this is a hassle in its own right. But the more places we have to stay, the more incentive we are obviously to come down and make movies there. Yeah.
Let's go down and give everyone a chance for either a quick question or a final thought. Maybe some of our first time guests. Jen, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I guess the only thing I thought of was we were asking about the homage films. Is I was listening to a podcast with Kiki Palmer today, and she was talking about her experience with Nope, and it was really cool that she brought up how it's kind of an homage to child actors, but also Jaws, and how there's this big thing in the sky and no one knows what it is, and she just really said it also hit her because she is a child actress, and being able to have a starring role in the film was really cool. So something I thought of today, film related.
I don't really have any questions. Just appreciate you coming on and talking about stuff. So thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Roland, thanks for spending time with us all tonight. I'm a first timer. I also wanted to thank you on a personal note for having me relive the 28 days later situation. I think I actually don't remember how old I was, but I do remember sleeping on the floor of my parents' room for about a week. So, and it's been
You're
a minute.
welcome.
Thanks for being vulnerable and sharing your experience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Art, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share?
How's the weather in Portland?
Is it apocalyptic up there? Like
No, not anymore. We're getting back to our usual cold and slightly rainy. So it's so very typical Portland in January.
I was going to hit you with a pretty brutal question about how a lot of people will often discuss the situation of director Andrei Tarkovsky filming Stalker and going through all of the toxic environments that he did expose himself and his crew to, that led to him passing away at a young age, and the different diseases and trouble that happened that basically killed off a good number of his crew. And if you were worried that that might happen to you and your guys, but I'm not going to go down that path. I'm just going to say thank you for hanging out. And tonight was awesome.
Cool.
So, legitimately though, Rollyn, I do wonder what you think about filming in hazardous conditions. I did like that you said you talked to everybody and you got their consent to film during COVID times. Respiratory issues are always a concern, especially for me on my sets, because I was in the burn pits in Afghanistan in the mid-2000s in Kandahar, along with a bunch of my team members. And we're still dealing with those effects 15 plus years later. So that's something that's always on my mind, is that, you know, that kind of exposure can be very hazardous. But it's very cool that you said that that's something that's on your mind as a filmmaker, because I think for all filmmakers and all productions, safety is extremely important. Glad that you brought that up.
No question. No question. It's just a movie.
Yeah,
No,
nobody deserves to
it's just
die
like-
over a show.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah, no, art is
We
great.
also have, you know, that being a very big deal today because of the criminal charges that happened with the armorer and Baldwin on. Well,
Yes.
Yeah. On Rust.
A lot of us knew Helena. We worked with her, and a lot of us loved her. And
oh my goodness,
that was really brutal.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's
far from the first time that someone has been accidentally shot on a set too. I mean,
I knew Michael as well.
Yeah, and you know Jason Lee on The Crow, and
Michael
yeah,
Mass,
yeah.
you know, he's the one who fired the badly packed dummy round, and yeah, it's serious stuff.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that stuff up.
safety always first. That's the number one. Really.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
always the one.
But again, thank you for hanging out, and it was great having you as our guest.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Hang on, pass the mic back that way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just thank you for sharing your passion for movies with us. So, thank you.
Thanks, William.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about movies. You can talk about movies all day long. I don't care.
This is the easiest job Rollyn's ever had. Was these last 2 hours?
Great. No, it's fantastic. This is a great way to spend my night. Are you kidding me? It's been fantastic.
I'll give you a couple easy questions then, Rollyn. You mentioned that you like when, I guess you mentioned students, and I was going to ask you how you are approaching the teaching of movie history, I guess. And then my other question is, for someone born in the early 90s, what movie should I watch before I was born?
Oh, wow.
Oh
wow.
How many hours do you have to spend here, Tommy? Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, I'll adjust the first question quickly. I just got my literally, it's over pandemic. I just got my master's in advanced film and media studies at Arizona State University. So I'm currently looking for possible teaching positions to teach this stuff. That's what I like doing. The second best thing to being on a movie set, talking about movies with other people. So I'm always looking for positions to help students learn more about cinema. And hey, if I get paid for it, that'd be even better. In terms of what movies you should watch, before you were born. I mean, you know, it's totally up to you what you like. I mean, if you're looking for a place to start, you know, the AFI's top 100 movies isn't a bad place to go to. It's a great checklist you can go through. You know, my favorite decade has always been the 70s in terms of filmmaking. I think that's when movies really grew up in America, at least, and when the best movies were made. So I think that's a good, or just find, there's so many lists out there. You can, depend on your taste, you can find so many great films to check out.
And if you want to get started, 11 feature films have been shot in Klamath Falls. So that's a great place.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Rollyn, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We really so appreciate it. And we so appreciate all your work. Please, please, please keep it up. Like, just your imagination and your creativity. It's so needed. And I too don't enjoy leaving a movie theater sad. So appreciate not sad films. Not to bash the Oscar shorts last year.
Right. Well, no.
Oh my God! Right.
Every year with the shorts, I always have to preface it by saying, you know, we may start funny, we may end funny, but we're going to go on an emotional journey over the next 3 hours. Just prepare yourself.
And you did those words, but dear God.
Dear God, I really hope the Oscar shorts are more uplifting this year.
Me too. I think The Boy, the Horse, the Mole, and the Fox might be up for it. So I'm really hoping that, like, I know it would be so sweet. But I really do so appreciate your work. And what my question was going to be, so I have a friend who hasn't dove into you know, zombie movies or aficionados, but Tommy kind of asked that, and he kind of outed himself as being that friend, even though that friend might have been me. So I appreciate your answer. And also I'll be up in Portland next weekend, so would love to connect with the Portland filmmakers community in some way or anything like that. So if you're around, would love to see you guys, or just connect with people up there.
Absolutely. Kurt's got all my info, so you know.
Great. Sounds great, Rollyn. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll pass it over to John.
John?
Yeah, just want to echo everybody's sentiment. Thank you for coming. You know, you're saying about 70s movies and stuff. You know, you can always watch that Watership Down. Just kidding.
Yeah. Well, and then add, you know, do a double matinee with Plague Dogs on top of that too. If you want to get the animation that will permanently scar you for life.
Another great dog movie. Watch The Thing.
Yes.
I honestly believe that my long-term relationship with my girlfriend ended because I loved The Thing too much, because she couldn't stand to watch any kind of animal die on the screen. So
go watch Never Ending Story. That'll make it all better. All right.
The 70s and 80s had a panache for making animated films to trick you into thinking it's a kid's film, and then permanently scarring you for life with the subject matter.
True. Very true. Yeah.
There was a few back then that really kind of, I think, impacted me. You know, of course, you know, I got the whole Star Wars and everything came out around then. But no, I just want to appreciate you for taking your time and just, you know, you got such a great demeanor and everything about all this stuff, and there's a lot of insights. You know, we're all learning. It's just amazing how much a learning curve this whole thing is, and I can see why you're saying it's nice to just hang out with other people in the industry, because it's just because they know pain. You know,
they know pain. Yes,
I remember one guy had a comment about like the Oscars. He's like, the Oscars are like the most fake thing ever. We don't go to work in a tux. We don't go to work. You know, this is not what, you know, they show us the, you know, that nice, you know, dinnery thing, and then you go back and it's just some horrible looking studio that's dirty and disgusting, and then they go back and start shooting another scene. I'm just like, you know, it's just like the dichotomy of it all was really kind of interesting, how different it can be, really.
Hey, I will say I love the hype with the Oscars. I love watching the Oscars. I think they're so much fun, even though they may be wrong a lot of the times. I like the buildup. I like watching the movies. I mean, the nominations, as we know, come out Tuesday. I'm psyched about it. I've hopefully watched most of the movies already. I have my, ideas who's going to win, but I'm excited to just see the rest of the nominations too. It's going to be fun until March 12th. Yeah.
Rollyn, that is all of us getting a chance to chime in. So now the floor is yours for any advice or just general thoughts on our conversation tonight. And again, thank you so much for joining us as our featured guest for this month.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. It's been a lot of fun. I'm always grateful to talk to you and everyone there. It's so much fun for me. What advice can I give? I'm just going to give the same advice I always give filmmakers, and that's never underestimate the power of a real good script supervisor, because they will save your life in the editing room for sure. And they will always catch things that you miss because you were too busy working with the actors or the camera or whatever. They always catch things. They're your safety net. So scripts never always pay for an actor scripty. Let's see. Don't cheap out on sound, as we all know.
Script supervisor? Or
yes, script supervisor. Yeah.
Script supervisor, continuity, whatever you want to call them. They're an essential part of filmmaking, and I couldn't function without them.
They are basically the hard ass on the set that is making sure everyone is staying on task when people are screwing around or someone gets the giggles and it's ruining all the takes. Or...
Yes, but they're much nicer than the AD. Anything else? I don't know. Make it a point to watch a movie you've never seen occasionally. I'm going to watch The Exorcist 3. I've never seen it before. And I'm excited to watch sort of a cult classic here in a little bit. Should be fun.
What's on your radar as far as things that you would like to see movie-wise?
You mean this coming up year?
Yeah, just throw us a few bones.
No, boy. No.
Are you excited for the new Brandon Cronenberg?
Oh boy. Cronenberg, you know what? All right. Ever since I passed the age of 30, I've discovered I get a lot more scared of things real easily. I think it's a mortality thing. A lot more shit scares the hell out of me that I didn't used to before. I don't know why I keep going to horror movies. Like, it scares the hell out of me. And also, my stomach is so much weaker when it comes to gore. And all the classic gore doesn't bother me. All the new stuff is like, oh my God, I can't. I'm such a wussy when it comes to that. The stuff I'm anxious to see now are, filmmakers I think have real good promise. I mean, I'm psyched about the new Scorsese movie coming out, Killers of the Flower Moon, I think it's called, with Leo and De Niro and some of the old gang coming back. I'm really excited to see that. But that amazing director, I never say his name properly because I butcher his name, who did Midsummer and Hereditary.
Ari Aster.
No.
Yes, his movies disturb me so much, and they're so good. But every time I see his movies, I need a shower afterwards. It gets under my skin. But he's got like a new movie coming out with Joaquin Phoenix, and I'll force myself to go see it, and then I won't watch it for at least a year because I'll be so disturbed by it.
We've got a new Nolan film coming out this summer too. So
that's right. I'm excited for that. Anything? Yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff coming out that I want to see. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, Rollyn, thank you so much for being our guest. I know we ran a little bit long, but thank you. We appreciate your work, and we appreciate seeing more of your stuff soon. And thank you for the very fun conversation. We will
members also, or
yes,
just the new joinees. We really appreciate just the attendance. So thanks so much.
New year and a bunch of new people joining us. So thank you everyone for being a part of this. Hopefully you had a good time, and hopefully we'll see you again. We do this every single month. And we will have another guest next month. So thank you to our regulars, and thank you to our new folks, and keep an eye out for all of the upcoming Klamath film activities.
Films. Thanks, Rollyn.
Oh yeah, and go on Amazon Prime and spend $3 to see One Dead Dog. It's worth it.
$2.99. Yeah.
Amazon Prime member, you get to watch it for free with ads.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.